Avengers Infinity War has finally been released. Here is my spoiler-free review. Now, I encourage you to leave comments below, but if you do, please don't share any spoilers with that. Let's be a really good film community and keep it out of that. Cool? All right. This isn't a standalone film. If this is your first foray into the MCU, then wait. Don't see Infinity War yet. You need to watch a couple of other movies so that you can catch up and you can get some backstory. Otherwise, the movie's not going to make any sense, and it's just really not going to be a good movie experience for you. It's a really big ensemble movie because it's pulling in the characters and the heroes from the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films. So a quick overview if you've been living in a hole or have no idea what Infinity War is about. Thanos, this big purple bad guy, is out to basically destroy the universe, or at least most of it. And he's collecting what are called Infinity Stones, and each of these stones have a power. Now he combines them all into this gauntlet, this huge glove that he puts on his hand, and the stones are in all of that. When they get together, it is the ultimate weapon, the most powerful one in the entire universe. Because Thanos is trying to get this ultimate weapon, the Avengers are going to try and stop him. Now, what I really liked about this film is Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos. He is just really, really good. And a lot of it is CGI, but the face capture that they use really conveys a lot of emotion that Josh Brolin brings to it. He's super convincing, and really, as an audience member, I connected with him. And I don't have a lot of backstory necessarily going in. They do develop some over the course of the film, but I don't really know much about Thanos when the movie begins, other than he's this really bad guy. He hurts people, he's a warrior, and there you go. It's pretty much non-stop action. There is tons of destruction and really well-crafted fight scenes. Now, the writers did a really good job of pulling all of these stories together because you have all of these converging stories that have been happening within the MCU. And for Infinity War, they have to all kind of make sense. You have to bring these characters together. And the writers really did that in a good way, I think, because you have characters who have never met, and yet they are encountering each other for the first time on screen in Infinity War. Now, like I mentioned before, we do get some story on Thanos about who he is, what he's doing, how he behaves throughout the course of the film. Now, I haven't read the comic book, so all I have to go off of is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's all this that I'm talking about here is the MCU. This is not about the comics, and so if they go off the rails on this or the movie doesn't stick to that, I don't care. I don't read it, and so it doesn't really matter to me. I'm sticking with the mythology that they've set up from the very beginning with Iron Man and maybe even before that Hulk, and going forward. There's a lot of drama in this action film, and quite honestly, it's very Shakespearean at that. Now, they do throw in some comedy, though, to lighten some of the tension, and it works really well. It doesn't seem out of place at all because the characters that are bringing the comedy, you've seen do this throughout the other MCU movies. Infinity War basically picks up right after Thor Ragnarok happens, and so that's where the movie begins. The last time we saw all of the Avengers together, really, is in Captain America: Civil War, and that didn't end too well. There was a lot of fractured relationships there, and so you get to see the aftermath of that, and still them working through some of the hurt, some of what's going on. And I think those feelings and those emotions are really conveyed well, and they do a good job of portraying that. I think it also helps that the Russo brothers directed Civil War, because now they also directed this Avengers Infinity War. So it makes a natural tie-in where you have this fracturing of the Avengers, and now you have them coming back together, sort of. I really love the dueling goatees between Doctor Strange and Tony Stark. Now, they actually weren't dueling, but there were a scene where they were facing each other, and then they're facing the camera, and they both have this wild facial hair, and it stood out to me. So there you go. Take that for whatever it's worth. It has nothing to do really with the film or the quality of it. It just was like, oh, hey, that's okay. Now, it really bummed me out that I didn't get to see more of certain characters. Now, I understand why, because this is a super long movie, and you're bringing in all kinds of characters, and so you can't focus on all of them individually. You have to do it as groups, and I just really wish that there would have been a way to focus a little bit more on some of the characters, that they would have gotten some more screen time. As it was, though, the story worked really well, and even though you have this group over here, and this group over here, and this group way over back here, that they were able to bring the story together and really make it work and flow. Like I said, this film is kind of long. And despite it being the longest film in the MCU, I didn't feel the time at all. I was totally enthralled with it the entire time. Even when the action stopped a little bit and you had some more of the drama happening, I didn't feel like, oh wait, what's going on here? Are we gonna... No, It just kept me going and kept me going, and I was right there. And so when it ended, I was like, whoa, wait, that didn't seem long enough. I think the Russo brothers did a really good job keeping the storylines separate and bringing them together at the exact same time. I think they have really stuck well to the way that the Marvel films work and how they feel and how they look and function. Because you can't have this big converging movie be so wildly different from all the other mythology movies that build into this, because you wouldn't buy it. It would just be weird and it wouldn't be great. I think Marvel has done a really good job throughout the entire MCU, even though they have a bunch of different directors, that they still maintain the consistency of the feel and the look of the films. Now, as technology gets better, they improve the CGI and the special effects. Do they do new and different things? Absolutely, and I think that's necessary for the film franchise to continue. But it's really good to see that these films stick together and you see this huge growing arc that's happening throughout the MCU. They're also credited with the Untitled Avengers Infinity War sequel. I think we're going to be able to expect the same level of excellence from the Russo brothers that we have thus far. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the MCU in the future. As of the recording of this, there are only 3 films listed on Marvel's website that are going forward in the MCU. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, and then the Avengers Infinity War sequel that's untitled right now. That's it. So we're going to have to wait and see. The good news is, though, that Avengers Infinity War 2, the sequel, is slated for May 2019. Yes, not too long of a wait. I think we can do it. There's no sex or nudity, there is some profanity, and there's a lot of violence. Now, there's only one post-credit scene in this entire film. And so if you find yourself at the very end when the credits start to roll that you're crossing your legs because you've been holding it for a really long time, you can get up, hit the head, and then come back. You've got a few minutes because the post-credit scene happens at the very end of the credits, and it's worth watching. If I were reviewing this as a standalone movie, I'd probably give it 3 out of 5. That's because it's a huge ensemble movie, and if you're only seeing it as this, they don't do any kind of introduction to all the characters. It's kind of like watching Suicide Squad, where you have all of these people all of a sudden and you don't really care what's going on and you don't know why they're all doing what they're doing. So if Infinity War was a standalone, I don't know. But because it's not, I'm reviewing it as part of the MCU, that it is a culmination of everything that has come forward. This has been their goal. And so I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5 couches. Have you seen it? What did you think? Please leave your spoiler-free comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this review, give it a like. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.